everybody, I'm Vera Stewart and I'm so glad you decided to join me tonight. You must have heard I was doing some delicious desserts. You know, people stop me in the grocery store and say, I just love it when you do those desserts. So we're doing 3 wonderful bite-sized bars tonight. I'm calling it bars, bars, bars. And the first one we're going to do is a traditional brownie, although it has 3 different types of chocolate in it, but I'm doing a different kind of crust to go on it. So the neat thing about this recipe is we're not even using a mixer. We're going to do everything right on top of the stove. So I'm going to go ahead and I've melted a stick and a half of unsalted butter. I'm going to add bittersweet, semi-sweet, and milk chocolate chips. And we're going to let that start to melt. And while that's doing that, we're going to walk over and get this crust going. This is where I'm kind of making a different recipe out of a traditional brownie. I'm going to combine corn syrup and creamy Jif peanut butter. And actually, this is a pie crust recipe that I've used for years when I do like an ice cream or a chocolate Cool Whip pie. I love to do this for the crust. So just mix up the corn syrup and the peanut butter, and then I'm going to add 2 cups of Rice Krispies to that. And then this is going to be the basis for either a pie crust or tonight we're going to let that be the crunch at the bottom of these brownies. Okay, let's check on our chocolate. That's coming right along. And all those different chocolates are what's going to make this a really gooey, delicious brownie. Okay, I've got a 9x9 pan that I've just greased down lightly with butter. And I'm going to pour all of this in, and we're just going to press this down in the pan. And it's just going to be a nice little thin layer, but it's going to add a nice crunch to the brownie that's going to go on top. So just a thin little coating. And you could actually use the crunchy peanut butter too if you wanted to. All right, so let's go back over here to the chocolate. And it's just about melted, and now I'm going to add in my granulated sugar. I'm just going to stir that around. Oh, and that chocolate just smells so wonderful. And at this point, once we know all of the sugar is dissolved, I'm going to start adding in, I'll turn it off the heat because the heat now, everything is melted together. I'm going to start adding in the eggs one at a time and beating for just a few minutes between each one. And I love to put the eggs in a measuring cup like this because you can almost get a whole egg out at once and you've already cracked them. So I'm just going to add one at a time and beat between each one. And I'll be doing a total of 3. Okay, so now I've got all the eggs in and I'm going to start adding the flour. And I love to put the flour into the sifter. That way I'll make sure I don't have a bunch of lumps in this when it gets stirred about. So just a quick turn of the flour. And this will mix in very quickly because our batter is still warm. And there's nothing like a wooden spoon when you're doing this. And don't forget, all the recipes are on our website, which we've got up on the screen. And I love it when you comment when you make these recipes. All right, I'm going to add in the vanilla extract. And now this is just about ready to pour in the pan. So let's get this crust over here. And this is going to go right on top of here. This is going to go into a 350-degree oven for about 38 minutes. And you, again, just want to test it. I like my brownies kind of gooey. But we'll get this in the pan and going. And when we come back from the break, we're going to get started on those blondies. So come back with us in just a few minutes. welcome back. And I know I really enjoy having something at the end of the meal that's just a bite. You know, maybe we don't feel quite as guilty if we don't eat a whole slice of cake or a whole slice of pie. And I'm finding more and more that people love little bite-sized things. I will even a lot of times put a tray of different little bite-sized bars on the table instead of serving a formal dessert. And that goes really great with coffee. You know, wonderful for tailgating, great for entertaining in general. And I'm going to be showing you some ways at the end tonight on how to present these bars in different ways. But now we're going to get started on the Blondie, and this also has an old recipe of mine that was actually pie crust. And what it uses is oatmeal, almonds, and coconut that I've toasted in the oven. And over here, I've got the butter for the actual Blondie's melting, and that's a stick and a half of unsalted butter. And I'm going to add 2 cups of light brown sugar to that, and we'll let that start melting and coming together while we put the crust together. So I'm going to add all these yummy ingredients, and if you decide to make this recipe, this actually makes 2 pie crust. And I love to do chocolate pies with this particular crust. You know, we all get so comfortable with graham cracker crust. So either one of these, the ones that I did for the brownies or the one for this one, is just a great alternative. Now this is a stick of butter melted, and then 1/4 of a cup of light brown sugar. And this is what's going to go in the bottom of the pan, and then the Blondies are going to sit on top of that. All right, that nice few seconds in the oven just really gets a nice little toasted crunch to that. So I'll add that in, and this is a 9 by 15 inch pan. And I'll just take the spatula and even that out. This will just give a nice little crunch and another nutty flavor, because the Blondies in this recipe actually have pine nuts in them. So you're going to get quite a number of these when we slice them. We're going to slice these a little bit smaller than we did the brownies. Okay, that looks about right. Now we've got the butter and the brown sugar melted, so I'm going to turn the eye off. And this time, I'm going to add the eggs one at a time. And I can go a little bit quicker with the process on this particular recipe. So it's just a matter of getting them whisked together. This is one of those things that you can also make in advance and have in the freezer, and you know, maybe combine them. Since I'm giving you 3 different recipes, just spend one afternoon making these would be great. All right, now it's time to add the flour, and again I'm going to use my sifter so that I don't have big lumps of flour as I'm trying to stir this together. And these sifters, I can remember my grandmother saying, "Don't wash the sifter, don't wash the sifter." But when I do mine, I just love to just let it just sit and dry, and I've had that sifter for quite a long time. All right, so that's going to come together. And a Blondie is one of those recipes to me that's real comfort food, because I can really remember my grandmother making these Blondies when I was a little girl. These also are really great when you're wanting to look for something to take to somebody. It's a great little gift that you can package up and get the children to help you with that. And this makes a really, really great, you know, again, just something nice at the end of the night, just to have a bite-sized sweet. And then the last thing that's going to go in is the pine nuts and the vanilla extract, and then we'll be adding that and getting that in the pan. The brownies are cooking now. We're going to get these in the oven for about the same length of time. And when we come back from the break, I'm going to be putting together the magic layered bars with maple and bacon. It's almost like a breakfast bar. So I'll get the pine nuts in here. So I'll just keep working on this and y'all come back with me after the break and we'll get started on number 3. Good posture and proper use of your silverware is important at a dinner party. So let's go over a few of those tips. Always remember to put the napkin in your lap and you want to unfold it under the table. If you have soup as your first course, you should have a soup spoon, and when you use it, you eat away from yourself. When you're finished, the spoon always goes back on the saucer. I've got a salad course next. I'm going to use my salad fork, which is the furthest on the left. I'm going to cradle that fork with my index finger on the top and just cradle it on the third finger. When I'm finished, that fork goes at 4 o'clock, letting the host or hostess know that I'm finished, even if there's still salad on the plate. And then finally, when you're using your knife and fork, you always want to point and have all of your fingers underneath and do only a couple of bites at a time. Put your silverware at 4 o'clock when you're finished and put that napkin back where you found it. Welcome back, and I'm having so much fun going back in time with old pie crust recipes and turning them into delicious bars that I hope you'll use over and over again. So while we were on the break, I got the rest of the mixture for the blondies stirred together and in the pan and in the oven, and they just look wonderful, smell even better. So now we're going to put together the magic bars, the 7-layer bars, and these have a special ingredient, the bacon and a little bit of maple flavoring. So they're really going to be kind of a sweet and salty. So I've got my graham cracker crumbs crumbled in the bowl. I'm going to add melted butter, a little bit of maple extract, the oats, and a little bit of salt, about 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And this is the bottom crust that's going to go in a 9x9 square pan. So if you want to double this recipe and make it in a larger pan, while you're doing all this, you might as well make double and put half of them in the freezer. Okay, so this is ready to go in the pan, and I'll just take the spatula and even it out. So this is the recipe that you can get the children involved, and I always love to point that out. We're not doing anything that's on top of the stove. Everything's going on layers. You could have everything measured out just like I have here and let them do the layering. So that would be really, that would even make a 5-year-old feel very special if you did that. So grandmama, if you're looking for something to do with that grandchild, this would be the perfect recipe. All right, so now we're going to take one bowl at a time, and these are our semi-sweet chocolate chips. And we're just going to layer those. And I really love to use the semi-sweet. You could even use bittersweet with this too. And now I've got chopped pecans, and try to make sure that you get all the way to the edge as well. All right, then we've got some coconut, and you can either use the sweet or the unsweet. And this is the unsweet because you can certainly see that there's a lot of sugar in this, but we're going to cut them into really small pieces, so hopefully you won't have to worry about that. All right, then finally, these are the bacon bits, and these are the Hormel real bacon bits. So you want to make sure that you don't use the imitation. So we've got those sprinkled around. Now I'm going to put maple syrup in sweetened condensed milk. And just whisk that around. And then this is just going to pour right on top. And then this is going to go in that same 350-degree oven for about 30 minutes. And it'll be really gooey when you take it out. So you want to be sure to use a cooling rack when you take this out of the oven so that it gets cool all the way through the bottom as well. All right, so that's ready to go in the oven. And just like I said, on any of these bars, what we've done today really freezes really well. These in particular, because you can cut them into really small pieces, makes wonderful desserts when you don't want to have a whole lot. And when we come back from the break, I'm going to show you how I've put it together to be a big dessert presentation for a big party, and also how I do it when I'm just putting a little bit around or even serving it for a small dinner party. So come back with us after the break and we'll put all this together in a very creative way. Hey, welcome back, and I hope you've enjoyed this segment tonight on bars and different little desserts that we can do. And I have had such a great time putting together old recipes with new recipes. So if you want the recipes, we've got a brand new way to get to our website. It's vera.nbc26.tv. That'll take you straight to our page where all of these recipes are. So I do want you to try them. But we've got something else I want you to do for me tonight. If you're out there watching right now, grab that camera phone. I want you to take a picture of either your family watching the show or take a picture of the TV with everything on it, and someone is going to win the flower arrangement for Flowers on Broad. So be sure to hashtag VeryVera so I'll get it myself. But do that right now while we're finalizing everything and showing you how to present. So as you can see, I've put together the bars. They've cut into really beautiful squares, and I love to use this pewter piece. You know, you can find all the beautiful pieces of pottery like this and pewter at Three Monkeys in Aiken, and they're always so accommodating when I say, this is what I'm doing this week, this is what I want to work with. But if I'm having a big party, I love to use this because I can put all sorts of desserts on it. So I cut the brownies into larger pieces on the bottom, the blondies in the middle, and then the little bite-sized maple bars on the top. And I also really enjoy putting on a little card what it is that they're having. And you know, I do some of this calligraphy myself, but you can print something like that on the printer, but that way everybody knows what it is. Another way I love to serve these desserts is in pieces of my pottery. I actually have a leaf collection, and anything from this beautiful ginkgo leaf all the way down to bronze and pottery. Just putting a few of the things, you could use a lot of different pieces and do a display on one whole side of your table or on a sideboard. Looks really attractive. And then something like this, just to come to the table at the end, if you've got 4 people having dinner, you can just pass this little leaf and each person can get one little bite of brownie. So that's really a lot of fun as well. Then finally, one of the ways that, you know, a lot of the restaurants now are doing small plates. You know, something like this to come to the table as a small plate for dessert is really attractive. Just a long, skinny plate, and I've put the smaller pieces on the end. And then if you want to do the brownie as a larger presentation with maybe some whipped cream on the top, if you'll put the knife on the side of the plate, then when it gets to the table, then you can go ahead after it's been presented and cut that brownie into the little bite-sized 1-bite portions. Makes that really nice. And then finally, we talked during the show tonight about gifts. And you know, when you have something that happens at the last minute, or you've been invited to someone's house for dinner, and it's always nice to take a bread and butter gift. If you've not frozen some of this stuff when you took that day off to make the desserts, then you're going to miss the perfect opportunity to share some of the things that you made. So I love to, these are actually just little coffee bags, and they're wax lined. So I could put a variety of the bars in here, just fold it down, and have it ready to go. Just put that in the freezer just like it is, and then when I'm ready to go visit a neighbor or see someone, I've got a little special gift of something that I made myself. Always a great thing. So as we finish up tonight, I want to share with you that I'm doing team building exercises. So if your company is looking for something special to do with the team group, where you want to take them out of the office for a couple of hours to do something special, I hope you'll consider my adult cooking classes. Information about this is on our website at VeryVera.com. And then of course our Saturday classes with children coming up for the holidays, you want to be sure to register for that. So look at the website at VeryVera.com for all of the things that are going on with adult classes and kids. But just remember, no matter what you do, do it in good taste. And I hope you'll taste some of these recipes soon and come back and join me next Saturday for another episode of the VeryVera Show.